For many B2B SaaS companies, it often starts off with the founder identifying a market void or learning firsthand, maybe from experience, about a problem that needs to be solved, and then they get to work building a product to solve that problem. Because they are the one that identified the market void or experienced the problem firsthand, they are able to tell a product story that compels early investors and early customers to bet on them. But over time, that product story dilutes, especially as new team members join and then the company grows. This is how the pattern usually goes. It starts with founder-led stories. So the founder has a visceral, lived-in story. They pitch it with fire. It lands, it drives the first logos and early investors, and then the first press buzz. Now, traction masks the story gap. So because there's growth, no one notices that the narrative hasn't scaled. Reps freelance their messaging, marketing those one-off campaigns. Everyone assumes that the clarity in the founder's head is spreading by osmosis. Then growth hits a ceiling. Eventually, new hires don't get it. Messaging splinters, sales cycles lengthen, competitors confuse the market. Suddenly, the team spends half their energy maintaining what they are instead of showing why they matter. Fourth act is that they start scrambling for a product marketing manager hire. So usually framed as we need marketing, but it's actually we need to bottle the founder's clarity before it evaporates. Now, I saw a job description that practically captures these 4 steps I have just explained, and it is endgame. When I came across a post sharing their job description by their founder on LinkedIn, I immediately jumped in, and what I have just explained here, it's kind of demonstrated, because if you look at the first problem they are trying to solve with this founding product marketing hire, they want this person to help them tell their product story. So if you're a founding product marketer, or you've been hired as the first marketer of a company and your job is to help tell the product story, how do you go about that? I wrote a 3,000 word plus article inspired by the job posting shared by Engage's founder Alex Biomers. But for this video, I wanted to quickly share 3 things that a founding product marketer needs to do. These are just 3 things. There are so many other things I've explained that is in the linked document, so go ahead and look at that. But before I dive in, it's important to note that when we are talking about product story and extracting product stories from the founder's head, the story that a startup tells prospective customers is often different from the story that it tells investors. This is a subtle but important difference, because while on the one hand, prospective customers want the story of how your product will transform their lives by helping them achieve very specific outcomes, investors, on the other hand, yes, that story is still important for them because they're going to do some due diligence to find out if customers are really going to use your product in the long term. But ultimately, they are interested in a product story that shows that there is a big market void that your startup is going to fill. Like a market void so big that it can return 10x, 20x, 30x, and even 50x of their fund. Yes, they want to know that your product can actually solve problems for customers, but they are more interested in the market that you're playing in. Because even if you solve problems for customers and there's no way for you to scale, investors will not want to listen to that story. So if you're a product marketing manager or you're a founding product marketer, that subtle difference is important. Now, back to what you should do as a founding product marketer. Let's say you were the one that Engage or any other Series A or growing B2B SaaS company hired. The first thing I would do if I was in that position is that I would treat the founder as my first customer. You may wonder, like, why do that? The reason is because often when companies are hiring their first marketer and the job is to help tell the product story, the story is already there, buried in the head of the founder. What they are really looking for is someone who can extract that story, codify it, articulate it, and empower the entire team to tell a differentiating story that moves deals down the pipeline faster. So talking to the founder or the founding team, you're going to extract the raw ingredients, the initial stories they were telling to investors, early customers that made them bet on them and took a chance on them. Those raw ingredients, I'm not saying it's going to give you everything you want, but it can take you 30 and in some cases 50% down the road. So when you extract that raw story, it is that story you want to articulate better. And then the second thing you want to do once you've extracted that story is to design a narrative propagating system. A narrative propagating system is, would I say, collaterals and every other thing the company needs or any other function in the company needs to go out in the market and tell the product story in a way that makes prospects, that is customers and investors, interested in either investing or buying the product, even when the founder or you, the product marketer, is not in the room. How do you do that? You create a messaging doc with pillars, and and then proof points, and that ultimately speaks the customer language. You have a weekly content sync with important or relevant team members within the organization, maybe sales, customer support, even the founding team if they are still doing founder-led sales, to understand how prospects are perceiving the story you've extracted, codified, and articulated, and if you need to make adjustments or maybe teach those teams how they should be telling that product story better. And then lastly, you need a collateral library that is tied to the same story structure. Collateral libraries in this case could be sales decks, one-pagers, any other thing that you need, maybe a few very detailed content pieces that will always be there to teach your team how they should be talking about the product story. The third thing you need to do is to anchor credibility through borrowed voices. So you see, as a founding product marketer, once you've designed the product story and take it to market, the market is not just going to get excited. Don't expect everybody to leave whatever they've been doing and just jump on the product because you've told a wonderful story. Most times you need borrowed voices, credible borrowed voices to lean on, so that you use them as the conduit for bringing your product story to market. So how would I go about that? I would shortlist 5 to 10 credible thought leaders in my industry. And thought leaders, I'm not saying people who have very large following. Of course, you can do that. But if you're in the sales niche, you could talk to VPs of sales, heads of sales, global enterprise sales leaders, and all that. So you develop the content ideas that you know that each of the credible people you shortlist are known for, and then go to them to hear what they will say on those ideas. But when you're asking them, either it's an interview or maybe you just send them a questionnaire, you're asking them questions that will make them lean towards your own product story, so that when their insights come out and you take those insights to market, whether through a newsletter or a video series, like a YouTube video series, when they are talking about those ideas, naturally it will lean or drift towards talking about your product story. So you're taking their own insights to market, you've borrowed their credibility and taking their insights to market, but because you're the one that developed the questions that they answered when sharing those insights, you naturally create space for them to say things that highlight your product's unique value and the story you want to tell the market about your product. So those are 3 things I would do if I was a founding product marketing manager. First, I would treat the founding team, especially the CEO, as my first customers. I would design a narrative propagating system, and then I'll anchor credibility through borrowed voices. For the full guide on how to get product stories out of the founder heads, especially companies who are looking for their first marketing hire, or product marketers who are assuming their first or founding product marketing roles, I wrote a 3,000 word article on Substack, and I'm going to link it in the description below. So give that a look, bookmark it, and then always go back to that as necessary. And then if you enjoyed this video, it is the first of the product-led storytelling show where I delve into product storytelling, product marketing generally, and how to land dream product marketing roles and succeed in that role. So if you think that's interesting and if that resonates with you, please give this video a like, subscribe for more, and then I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.